Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Ask Me Anything. We have our CEO, founder, and Chief Visionary Officer, Tim Vasko, with us today. Good morning, Tim.
Hey, Jay, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Another
Great.
beautiful day in blockchain world.
Always, every week. Keeps getting better and better.
So, speaking of getting better and better, do you have any updates for us?
Yeah, we have a huge number of events coming up. Most notably, and a lot of new media. Most notably, we were recognized in in Money Magazine this week, which was fantastic. We're working on a couple of very large international relationships, which I can't disclose right now, but pretty exciting. We'll be moving into the telecom world, and our chain continues to get better every day. We're in testing with the application and finalizing it. We expect to have the iOS iTunes Store app up yet this month, and so things just keep progressing towards our ultimate initial license offering.
Terrific. Sounds like there has been a lot of progress. So let's dive into the questions, and our first question is from Alistair, who is reaching out to us from Ireland. And Alistair says, I'm not an accredited investor and don't live in the USA. Can I buy Blockcerts tokens now?
The answer is that you can register on the site. We'll take your name as part of the larger offering that's starting at the end of this month for our licenses. And once that offering of the actual utility token is open, you'll be able to invest and get your Blockcert licenses. Yes.
Great, and those are going to be utility tokens, so it's basically going to be a software offering. Am I correct?
That's correct. It's a software. It's a software offering. It's like owning your own software distribution, if you will. So instead of say Salesforce.com, for example, or Google being the software company, every person who owns Bcert tokens gets to be a software company. So it's kind of a very unique and powerful new model for software and engagement alone, much less with the blockchain.
So following up on that, I have a question from Robert, and Robert's asking, what is the difference? You're talking about a utility token, and right now you're selling Bcerts tokens, and I understand that that's actually an investment. What's the difference between these two things?
An investment under the current model, this simple agreement for future tokens is the investment, and we did the investment part similar to what you hear about with venture capitalists do, say with Uber or something like that, Airbnb, before there's actually a product. The investors come in and provide capital to help build out the model. When we started the SAFT and the accredited investor offering, that was before we had the blockchain fully functional and the application fully functional. At the point we release the ILO, or the initial license offering, it will be a utility token. So you can download it, you can use it, you can create your own business model around it as is, or you can configure it the way you'd like, just like you might do with any Microsoft product, piece of software, or any other software that you can program into. So the difference is, at the beginning, we were offering a security. The simple agreement for future tokens will go away, and we will then become a utility token and a software company. So hopefully that explains it.
Great. So for people who are lucky enough to be accredited investors and can participate in the offering, what's the benefit to them? I mean, besides the fact that, obviously they're investors and they're getting in on an early stage blockchain company, could you go into a little detail on that?
Sure. The obvious answer is that the earlier you're in, the lower the cost to participate in the Blockcerts BCert token model is, and the blockchain. As the market grows, as we release, I believe our current offering is at 10 cents per token, and that's pre-release, so pre-going live. When we actually go live, it will be 99 cents. So the download of the app, which is effectively the application that allows you to access the blockchain, and the Blockcert token that goes with it is 99 cents. That's a piece of software, so the investment is 10% of the actual cost of the software right now. And that will rise over time. We've scheduled to make it, even for investors who come in and support future versions, 25%, I think, by July. So it'll go up to 25 cents a token. And then after that, it will end up wherever it ends up. So we'll look very much more like a software company that is doing both product sales and additional financing rounds with effectively professional investors.
Great. Getting off of the investment side of things for a minute, we have Ronald, who says, I understand that to participate in blockchain, I have to buy very expensive computers with special chips. Is that going to be the case with Blockcerts?
No, Blockcerts is a model that's right now a hybrid model between proof of work and proof of stake. So all you need is a regular desktop computer and a mobile phone, and you can use Blockcerts. BCert tokens generate hashes to blocks under your public address. So once you have a token and you've signed up on the Blockcerts application, you can create your own blocks, your own transactions, and effectively what proof of stake means is the more of those transactions you have, the bigger stake you have in creating blocks, the more rewards that come your way. So what is typical in the current blockchain world and the cryptocurrency world is these expensive energy-consuming machines to generate these blocks. But because we're generating hashes and tokens with every transaction, we're actually doing all of that mining just from our everyday devices. So it's a more scalable, long-term strategy. And most every blockchain out there realizes it's the best strategy and is trying to go to it today. But even in this early world of blockchain, there's still these legacy or original invention problems. And one of those is mining, which will eventually change to just regular compute from any computer.
So Ronald was worried about basically what he got Bitcoin, I think, confused with blockchain, and he was thinking to get involved in blockchain, he'd actually have to become a miner. But what you're saying is that we're making it easy for anyone who has a smartphone, a tablet, or a desktop computer to be able to go on the blockchain and use it like you do anything else. Just you're not going to need special equipment. You're not going to be mining blocks, right?
That's exactly right. There's billions of computers out there in the world already. There's tons of compute power. Many, many models are starting to form to take advantage of those types of all this excess capacity and compute power and storage and things like that in the blockchain. And I learned about another industry, I think, that's going to get incredibly disrupted that I won't talk about right now. But it's as we move forward to distributed, decentralized technology and ledgers, we'll be able to see lots of these types of things happening, even with somebody who's in the middle of nowhere, literally on a mobile device. They'll be part of the blockchain and mining their hashes. So.
Great. Next question is from Susan. And Susan read an article this week that Facebook had inadvertently marked a bunch of conversations that were supposed to be private as public. And she says that up to 15 million people had their private conversations exposed to the public. She asks, is this something that blockchain's going to be able to handle?
Yeah, it's something that blockchain does handle, because the only person that has your private key is you. So the only person that can, in the first model we release, that can access information that's private is you or the people you're working with on your smart contracts. So effectively, without a private key in your trusted group, including us, we can't expose any information. We can't mark it public. The private key is the key to unlocking everything. So that when you generate your blocks, you generate your authentication, you generate your identity and hash it to the blockchain. It's just a bunch of numbers, encrypted numbers, and in order to make it human readable, you hold the keys.
Great. Susan just typed in a follow-up question, and I wanted to encourage anyone on the call today to go ahead and feel free to use the Q&A or the chat windows to ask us questions as we go through the webinar today. But her follow-up question is, using your technology, would I be able to build my own private social network so that I don't have to use Facebook or any of the other social networks and control who can see what I have and who can't?
Yeah, the idea, actually, we've got a few models underway for private social networks and trusted community, and that's the whole idea. So you can elect who comes into your community, who works with you currently on a smart contract, who you share files with, and certainly within our platform there is discussions. So think of it like if I want to share images or documents or have a discussion and in the future transmit money, all of those kinds of things are possible, and it's only within your private network. So you can keep what you want to keep private, and everybody else can be trusting that is valid as well. So that it's a trusted private network and trusted private community.
Great. We have a question from Barney, and Barney wants to know, when can I start using Blockcerts?
As soon as we launch the app onto the iOS App Store as well as onto the web, and we release the first version of it, you'll be able to use it. So there will be the functionalities that are the very first functionalities, which we'll be announcing, and then we'll be adding to additional features that make it more and more usable. But literally the day that we release, you'll be able to set up your private network and smart contracts and use it.
Great. Another question. This one is from Ginger, and Ginger was asking, if I'm a Blockcerts token holder, do I own my own information, or is that something that's going to be shared with other people?
You always own your own information, and your information is encrypted. Again, it's stored, it's encrypted, and the only way to unravel it is using your private key.
Okay. And I guess I think what Ginger's getting at is, and I could be wrong, Ginger, let me know if I am off base, but I think what she's getting at is, if she's managing her information and she allows other people to see it, how does she know that the people who are actually trying to view her information are the people that she thinks they are?
because everybody that's on the chain that has a private key is authenticated to that private key. So you know exactly when your information is linked, that it takes their private key to view that information. So if I hold a private key and Jay holds a private key and I've shared it with Jay, we will know that I will know that Jay viewed it using his private key. If two people come in and Jay even shares his private key and that key is tried to be used a second time from a different location, it won't allow access.
Okay, and Ginger did give me a quick chat and said that I was pretty close to target, so I guess I did all right. So then I have a question from Dan, and Dan was asking about the hype surrounding blockchain, Bitcoin. He said, I keep hearing all this hype about how this is going to change the world, but give me the truth. Is every person and business going to be on blockchain eventually, or are there going to be places where you just don't need blockchain?
Well, if you read the quote right on the landing page here, if you're not on a phone, it says the next major IT revolution that is about to happen is blockchain, and that's from Steve Wozniak, who's the co-founder of Apple. So there are a lot of people, organizations, and every major tech company out there that believes this is the next generation of the internet and the cloud. There's no question in my mind that this is going to touch every single person on the planet.
Great. And the next question is from, Verdun, I think, Verdun, Verdun or Verdun. And they're saying that they just read an article recently in Forbes that the 10 largest companies in the world are looking at blockchain. And what Verdun's asking is that just applicable to big business, or can any size business use blockchain?
Well, the world is about any size business. If you look at Facebook with over 1 billion users, or you look at most every business model out there that uses SaaS technology and some 300 million plus revenue stream of the cloud, they're all small businesses and individuals. So this effect, as I said, affects everybody. And our goal and mission is based on accessibility and collaboration and trust. So if we make it accessible to the most unlikely person on the planet, maybe somebody in the middle of Africa, and we can achieve that goal, which we can, then it's applicable to every business, every small enterprise out there. That's what drives the economy. That's what drives business. And that's what our goal is to get it into the people's hands that are most affected and get a most benefit from this. We're establishing a fund of tokens that will be for every token that we release, and is placed in the market to somebody that buys a BCERT token. There will be a token set aside for a farmer, and these are the people that are providing 1/3 of the world's food, but most of them are starving. So we're trying to solve big problems, and you always hear this joke about what are you going to do, solve world hunger? And the answer is yes, that's what exactly that we're going to do. We're going to try and take a step there, because if you don't take a step and you don't take action, it's never going to happen. So I think it affects everybody. It touches everybody. It will be available to every business, and our mantra will be accessibility, collaboration, no matter what size you are.
All right. Well, I've got a question from Greg, and Greg says, I'm reading a lot about scams now in the cryptocurrency world. How do I know who's legitimate and who isn't?
Well, I think it's difficult. People love to buy stories. I think the easiest way to find out who's legitimate and who isn't is what's the substance behind the the technology, just like anything else. What's the substance behind the organization? In our case, we got real technology. We haven't done an ICO because we wanted to have working technology. We've got a patent. We've got large partners. We're talking to governments and at the highest level. As you know, I met with the Prime Minister in Canada. We're working with MIT, Oxford. So I think credibility, I think you look at what the company's doing. I think you look at who their partners are. I think you look at what the functionality is. Of course, there's always the online indicators of going, if you're just in the cryptocurrency, go to CoinMarketCap and see what the volume is of things being traded out there. And don't be fooled. It's easy to buy a story you want to hear. Sometimes it's more difficult to actually look beneath the covers and say, oh, that's real. And maybe that company's not as good at telling story, but their stuff looks really, really phenomenal and legitimate.
Great. I have a question from Jim, and Jim's asking, are there any industries that you think are particularly ripe for blockchain that your company is focusing on?
We're focusing on e-health in a large way. We're focusing on the cannabis industry, liquor industry. We're looking at the telecom industry. So we're looking at a lot of industries. And we're also looking at some industries that are based on trusted community and trusted credentials, such as education. We've got one group that's looking at resumes of professionals. So there's lots of industries that we're looking at. It's not an industry-specific thing, but those are the main ones that are on the plate right now.
Great. I have a final question, and that is from a gentleman in England. And he says, I'm reading about a lot of software as a service applications and how they may be edged out of that market due to the functionality of the blockchain. Could you comment on that, please?
Yeah, I don't think it'll be due to the functionality of blockchain. I think it'll be due to the functionality of the application, the possibility of driving applications through blockchain if you have an integrated application. But because of blockchain, we can distribute all that kind of compute power without having to, at least in our blockchain, without having to charge a seat fee. So in our actual application that we've spent over a decade building, and we've said many times, millions and millions of dollars and tens of millions of dollars and millions of man hours in building it, you'll be able to do things like CRM and instant messaging and file sharing and collaboration and all of those elements. And because it's on the blockchain, all that compute cost, as we talked about before, and all those transactions will support the cost, so there's no need for a seat fee. That will dramatically disrupt the ownership model where a big company owns the license, owns the software, and you're forced to pay a toll to get to it every month. Instead, you'll basically be doing software as a service, running your business on the as-needed basis. So you'll pay per SIP instead of pay per month.
Great. Well, we've run through all the questions. Unless someone in the audience has another one, we can wrap this up a little early today. But Tim, I want to thank you for joining us again. Great answers, some pretty thought-provoking questions, and we will see everybody next Friday. Remember, we have Ask Me Anything every Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. And please tell your friends, the more the merrier.
Sounds great, Jay. I'd like to thank everybody again for supporting the effort of getting Blockcerts into the market where it needs to be. It does no good sitting in a back office somewhere. This is all about making a better business world and a better collaboration and accessible world in general. So thanks again. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, everybody.